Welcome back to this episode of Balancing Acts. We're talking to Bob Nienaber about Benefit RFP. We've been talking about executive benefits, perks, tax savings, way to minimize taxes. I want to switch now to talking to Bob about his journey from being an author to an innovator. And beyond running Benefit RFP, Bob's an award-winning author with books now being adapted for film. His journey blends business creativity and innovation. And of course, on Balancing Acts, we're always interested in the entrepreneurial journey and how those of us, pivot over the years and change and have long-lasting, long-term businesses. So, Bob, what inspired you to start writing?
I'm one of those guys that usually sleeps 4 or 5 hours a night. So I read a lot. I read about 80 books a year and I write a lot. And, it's my meditation really. But, and I guess I've written about 6 or 7 books on my own now. I've done chapters and co-authored, another dozen books. One of my most recent books that came out was Retention Revolution. And I didn't know it was going to be such a hot topic, but it became a #1 bestseller on day one. And it's just done great because, people really are concerned about how to keep their core team together. They want the culture that they have, that they've been building. They want to do all the right things. And that book helps you with that. So it takes you through a very simplistic guide of how to recruit, retain, reward the top people. We know that everybody comes in for their job from salaries. From the original money that's being given to them. But then what keeps them in their seats and prevents them from leaving are properly put together benefit programs. And so that's what we work on. That's what we focus on. And then, as far as when we get them in the door, what we do, and we're one of the largest providers of executive benefits in the country. We're a simplicity company. We have about 90 locations around the country. And we just focus primarily on the highly compensated executives in these discussions. We start with the owners down, the shareholders down, because it's got to be right for them. A plan has to be profitable. And this is something that I don't think people hear me until I say it about 5 or 6 times. A plan that's put together properly will actually build a profit center for the company. And those dollars can be used by shareholders. Those dollars can be used to better the plans like 401ks. Maybe they're in a safe harbor plan that's not working well for them and they want to get away from that. They can do that. But we go through a full audit process. So if it's a new plan, we're going to do a live diagnostic. We're going to get you on the phone and we're going to take you through a quick 30-minute conversation about, what plans you have and what you don't have so that we can have a report card to show you how you're doing against your competitors. And we use the benchmarking with it. And then we start the discussion around your demographics. If you're a small company, mid-sized company, large company, public, private, non-for-profit, doesn't matter. We're going to go through these steps and then we're going to come to the finish line, understanding exactly what we need to put in place for you. If you have a plan that's already in place, we're going to look at the asset and liabilities. We're going to make sure it's producing a profit. If it's not, we're going to get you out of that plan or recommend that you leave that plan so that you can have a plan that does the right things. A plan that is not profitable for the company means it's probably not that productive for the participants as well. So you want to do it on both sides. And even doing the cash flow on these things, a lot of times owners here, especially smaller companies here, oh my gosh, if I got to do something for executives, where am I going to get the money? How am I going to get the money? What can I do to make this happen without me pulling out so much money? It's actually good news on this because it's actually less cash flow to build the plan out properly and to have it fully functioning at the best top levels for the participants. It's cheaper to do it that way than the old-fashioned way where we just pay them dollars. We just pay the money out the door because you lose a lot of tax benefits, you lose a lot of perks, you lose a lot of capabilities for these plans to grow and go. Once a plan is put together, we'll administer the whole plan. Any plan that we sell, we'll administer it from top to bottom. We don't represent any carriers. We don't represent any investment firms. Our fiduciary is strictly on the side of the client. And that's great news because most executive benefit plans today, the fiduciary from the wholesaler that's working with your broker is on the company that's selling you the products. And that's the absolute worst place it can be because they're not going to tell you what's the best stuff out there.
I completely agree with that. And I see that when you buy, your 401k plans through a payroll company. There's a middleman, and there's markups, so you're never quite sure what you're getting. But before we go a little further into that, I want to go back to your books again, because storytelling is a big buzzword now for every area of business. It's storytelling to your ideal customer, and it's storytelling in and how you message, and it's everywhere, right? And I of course I love Donald Miller's book, Story Brand, which I think many of us read. So your books, I think one of them is one or more is going to become a film. So how does storytelling help how people understand finance and leadership? I know you have those explainer videos on your website, which are kind of fun to watch. And I do taxes for a living, so that's not exactly exciting either. So tell us how storytelling makes a difference to finance and leadership.
Well, I've done some travels in my career. I go overseas. I go to the Middle East, and I've been behind enemy lines in a lot of weird situations, some dangerous situations. And I've written the books about them. It's really based on the encounters, or in some cases on the historical side of the events that's taken place. And rather than just write a boring book, like you said, being an executive benefit guy or a CPA is not always the most exciting things, right? But if you do use storytelling, and I obviously use storytelling in the historical books that I've done, make them fun. I've got a couple that are going into the movie process right now. And so, that's all fun stuff. But yeah, you want to utilize that too with your benefit programs. You want to use examples. You want to show them exactly the difference between where they're at right now and where they can be, and help them live that dream of where they're going if they go the right direction, because it does drive in a lot of great conversation. Because it can't just be dollars and cents. It's got to be emotion. It's got to have how your family's going to feel, how you're going to feel, how your kids are going to feel. All these different things come into play that pure numbers can't even come close to demonstrating. So you want to incorporate both. We learned that in a very weird way years ago. About 20 years ago, we did a live presentation for the Fortune 1000 company. We had all but 2 of the Fortune 1000 companies on the call. 97% of the people on that call said they were about 30 to 50% knowledgeable on executive benefits, rules, how they work, all these things. And so what we did at that point, we said, we got to make it easier, because if as you can imagine, if the Fortune 1000 doesn't understand these plans and how they work, where they have dedicated staff, when you go downstream to smaller companies, and maybe you've got an owner that's wearing 3 hats, or an HR person that's wearing multiple hats, they can't focus on this. So we simplified it. We took all the hard lifting, we put it behind the technology that we have. We built a bunch of proprietary technology over the years, and we incorporated very simplistic films to it. I was lucky enough to write the Grammys plan years ago, and in that process, I met some of the folks from the South Park team, and coincidentally, they ended up doing our cartoons to simplify these presentations. And you can go out to our website, which is at BenefitRFP.com, and you can pull up all these individual presentations, and they're about 1 minute to 2 minutes long, but they're very impactful. They're very simplistic. They're very easy to follow, and it just makes the process more fun again. Because if you don't understand how these plans work, you're never going to get it done for your people, because it's scary if you don't understand it and you're expected to spend a bunch of money and you're worried about all these things, you'll never get to the finish line. And so we utilize all aspects of storytelling, of light videos using the cartoon characters, everything, our data, our technology, our total rewards program for our concierge programs for the participants, so that it's simple. And that's why our participation rates are more than 2.5 times the industry average. And, if you do it right, people should have fun. Again, this is money. This is fun. This is your retirement. This is your dreams and goals. And this is what your people want to see and hear about. And you have to take the time to do this if you're an owner, if you're a senior exec, you're hiring people, because if you don't, you will have turnover. And turnover, unfortunately, is very expensive. On the lower end of HCs, it's 3 times the replacement cost of their salary. So if I'm paying somebody $200,000 and they leave, it's going to cost me $600,000 to recruit, train, hire people. Hopefully the person that left didn't steal other people, didn't take clients with them, all these things. And so if you can lock that down, you eliminate that hidden cost, and or at least dramatically reduce it, so that you can go on and be one of the prosperous companies that we read about all the time in the news and newspapers and everything.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Losing your key people and losing employees is very painful. Not even just the money, the time of retraining and getting them to understand your customers can be, it's very disruptive to most businesses. So we have only a short time left on this segment, but innovation is a theme in both your writing and in your business. And what drives your creativity?
I'm a very simplistic person. When I go out to the internet, I'm looking for answers quickly. I'm looking to understand what's going on in an easy fashion that I can follow easy. And I do, I do learn from audible conversations, obviously, but I also learn a lot better from visual conversations. And so we just try and make it very simple. That's part of one of our key mission statements, is to make executive benefits easy, simple, something that you can recommunicate back to your boards or back to your other partners or whoever is involved in these plans. And then we want you to understand, forget about all the rules, because that's all kind of behind the scenes stuff, but we're going to give you the perks and show you all the things that you can do, so that when you are making the decision, you're making them based on everything you understand. You don't have to remember the regs. You don't have to remember all the rules that are behind this. You don't have to remember all the things that Congress does on a regular basis to change these rules and to make them more favorable. We do all that for you, but you'll have the benefits of seeing all what those perks mean and what it means to both the owners and the participants.
Excellent. You have a fascinating journey from, shaping executive benefits, actually working with the government on shaping all those complicated rules, and to stories on the big screen in your book. So I'm very inspired, and I can't wait to actually get one of your books. So let us know how we can find you online if someone wants to follow you.
Sure. Well, for the books, you can just put in my name and type in American Bloodline or Retention Revolution or Blur, or any of the books will come up. As far as if you're a senior executive, and I always give my cell phone out to the senior exec that's going to be on the design team, or maybe the CHRO or HR person, because they're going to have the most questions, especially if you're going through reevaluating a plan that you have already, or trying to implement a new plan. My direct number is 916-838-0866. I travel the world, so that phone's always with me. It's the best way to catch me. If you want to get in touch with my team, you can go out to BenefitRFP.com. and just, plug away on the website, get a lot of your questions answered. But, don't be shy, and don't be fearful of these programs. They actually are money makers for you. We want you to get all of it out of it.
Thank you, Bob. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. And we're going to have Bob one more time talk to us about lessons from the boardroom. Stay with us. Bob always has great information to share with us.
Thank you, Linda.